Hello and welcome to our podcast, Wear Many Hats. I'm your new host, Mark Robinson, and I'm the Commercial Director for Hawkey Cleaning and Support Services. On the show, we will be shining a light on the facilities management industry by interviewing prominent subject matter experts across a range of roles and sectors in the industry. Now, by gaining their insights, experience, and industry knowledge, we hope to inspire the next generation of young facilities management professionals. Our objective is to share our guests' stories and experiences to help motivate, engage, and inspire others into the industry. Via this medium, we hope our listeners will gain new perspectives, insights, and learn about strategies to develop their careers in the industry. It gives me great pleasure to introduce my guest today, Paul Wilson, Head of Estates at the Institute of Contemporary Music Performance. Hello, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Good. Shall we just fire in with the first question? Lovely jubbly. So, look, first off, can you tell us about your career journey in facilities management and how it started?
Yeah. So, obviously, as many people find themselves, they don't wake up and go to their career advisors and speak about how they want to get a role in facilities management. So it's one of these roles that kind of you amalgamate, you change, you find yourself in those positions that you kind of start off down one path and then it leads into another, and that's what happened with facilities management for myself.
Like a happy accident.
Like a happy accident, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So, I mean, my background originally was from when I went to university was to study film, TV, and radio.
Wow.
So that doesn't exactly lend itself to facilities management. My original course was to go into music journalism, right. To kind of to interview bands, to review bands, and to just basically be music orientated. Unfortunately, those hopes were dashed through various reasons. And then after a little spell of travelling with my friends, came back and needed money. And so I basically got into becoming a branch manager, right, for a furniture, or deputy branch manager for a furniture company based in Shropshire. And that had kind of facets of facilities management. You know, you'd look after the health and safety of the site, the welfare of the drivers, ensuring various kind of procedures and processes were filled in with the vans, etc. So it was that kind of regimented kind of almost like a PPM regime there. Yeah. I mean, this is going back 20 years or so. Yeah. That got me to a point there, and then because of a personal issue that took place, my mum passing away, I decided to go travelling again. Right. So my wife, my girlfriend at the time and now my wife, we went travelling in 2007.
Where did you go, out of interest?
Went for almost a year. So we went we went to China first, went to Southeast Asia, went to Australia, New Zealand, South America.
Wow.
And so, just went out and, I know it sounds glib, but found ourselves, decided what we wanted to do. My decision was that I wanted to move to London. Right. Felt that Telford, when I went back to it, was going to be fairly small. Yeah. It was fairly small. So I moved down to London within about 2 or 3 months. Right. Was lucky enough, given it was the financial crisis, to find myself a role at the University of Law.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is based in the facilities team.
Yep.
And then that's where my career really took off. It was just basically, dovetail between the two sites in London. There's one at Moorgate where I started, was one in Bloomsbury. So I moved across to Bloomsbury as the facilities manager. Then moved across back to Moorgate as the facilities manager because it's a more prestigious site. And then became kind of overall control of the two sites, but then kind of reached where I felt I couldn't go any further within that. I mean, that was like 9 years. So, but I mean, University of Law were fantastic. They gave me put me through NEBOSH, did a master's with them in business strategic management. Yeah. So it's just, great, bedding stone, so to speak, for my career.
Yeah, because I see at the University of Law, you were obviously promoted on several separate occasions into different roles. Yeah. So can you offer any insights to our listeners about how to, take a position within an organisation and then develop yourself into better roles as you're moving forward? Because you were there for 9 years, I believe.
Yeah, 9 years. So basically from the time I moved down to London to 2017. So I mean it's just almost, it's inwardly pushing yourself.
Right.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, I was quite wet behind the ears. I mean, moving down to London, it's quite it's the kind of arrogance of youth.
Yes.
Of thinking that, and so, I needed to learn a lot very quickly. But as I said, University of Law were, great partners in promoting me and also educating me. There was a really good training program there. That as I moved on upwards in the company, I was able to hone, to obviously to bring it along as well, and make sure that people beneath me who I was managing were able to to have that support as well. Learning IOSH, understanding about water maintenance, fire safety, etc., and making sure that training was represented throughout the company, which obviously brought on future team leaders and leaders within the company themselves.
Yeah, so you basically took the decision to develop yourself as well as take on the development that they were prepared to give to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you need to buy into it. You can't. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's as much your own pushing yourself than everyone can do the training and that, but it's whether you appreciate it and take on board. You could just do it as a tick box exercise.
Completely
or
agree.
You could you could obviously take it on and make sure that those things that you're learning within that training you're putting into your day-to-day role.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. So that sort of takes care of the law society. So where did your career go next?
So I moved over to Knight Frank Promise, which is a subsidiary of Knight Frank. Moved into residential, which was a culture shock, which I would say I learned in the first 6 to 12 months as much, if not more, in facilities management and just in life, working life at Knight Frank than I did in the previous 9 years. And that's not to, put away, those years I spent at the University of Law. It's just that, Knight Frank, I think personally are the best in the residential market, are the highest, give the highest standards, are, promoting, the best values for that kind of residential management company and facilities management company and health and safety. And I knew straight away that I was dealing with a different kind of standard of what I'd done previously. Right. And it meant that my steep learning curve, was just immense in the first year. And I loved it, not all throughout of Knight Frank. It was just a wonderful experience throughout.
Yeah. So how would you feel the residential setting differed from the commercial setting in that kind of environment? What's your view?
I mean, it's obviously my motive. It's for the University of Law, if there's a classroom that was damaged or not in a good state, or there was a leak, etc. You could invariably find a separate classroom for them to move into. It's not, you can just say to a resident, oh, by the way, we're just going to move you down into another just flat,
put you down onto floor 30,
or even just say, oh, we'll get you a hotel. That doesn't work. And
of course.
And you saying that you're going to fix it that evening, you've got to make sure that you're fixing it that evening, or certainly doing everything you can in your power to mitigate whatever the situation is. I thought lawyers and academics were quite difficult people to please, but residents are a whole new ball game. It was, like I said, such a steep learning curve, and one of the things you had to do is offer exemplary customer service, which I think, by working in University of Law and an educational setting, put me in good stead.
That was a skill that you accumulated via the experience you'd had in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's different as well. If I go back to the when I moved to University of Law from my previous role as the deputy branch manager, it's a lot of that was. If there was issues with customers complaining or issues with any kind of deliveries, etc., it was all on the telephone. University of Law was face-to-face all the time. And that was, good to bring that into Knight Frank and dealing with residents face-to-face. There's no kind of hiding or anything. It was literally, if you've got a resident screaming at your face, you're going to have to, placate them and make sure that, you're doing everything you can to solve that situation.
Yeah, so two really different organisations in terms of how they were structured and what they looked after. So that obviously built your skill set within the facilities management industry. And, based on our conversation before this, you're now in a role which is kind of a labour of love for you, really.
Yeah. Facilities management in general, do you mean? Or
facilities management within your current role?
Oh, ICMP. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's a couple of months in now, but I mean, it's, the circle's been closed in so much that I'm back into music now.
Yeah, fantastic.
For me, as most people who know me personally will attest, it's a passion of mine. It's some might say an obsession. That'd probably be my wife who would say that. And so for me, it's dealing with that kind of my passion on a day in day out basis. Not no disrespect to residential management. I did have a passion for that. But obviously, it's it's not burning as brightly as say my passion for music.
Yeah, of course. So who's your favourite band, Paul?
I have three. I don't.
Oh, come on, tell us who's the three.
So my three are Radiohead.
Oh, love them.
Nick Cave.
Oh, I like him. Yeah.
And Wilco.
Wilco.
Yeah, no one knows Wilco. But Wilco.
I've not heard of Wilco. Where are they from?
From Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You'll have to share something with me on YouTube.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah. I'd be interested to have a listen.
That's no problem.
Okay, brilliant. That's fantastic. So, what advice would you give someone that's interested in starting a career in facilities management?
I'd have two. I would obviously the qualifications I feel are important.
Right.
But as I said earlier, it's no good if you're just going to do it as tick box. If you're just going along just to get those qualifications but not use them. I think having IOSH and getting with the IWFM, trying to embrace or getting up to legislation standards and obviously making sure that you're up to date with all those changes that are taking place fairly obviously regularly, and then I would also gain a mentor. I've had plenty in my life. Right. On a work basis. I had 3 or 4 at University of Law. I had a couple at Knight Frank, and I'm all about collaboration. All about learning of others, taking a lot of different viewpoints, and then making that decision myself. I'm not one of these people who will just walk in and just take over and make decisions without hearing other people's viewpoints, because it's important to hear those different viewpoints and stands and backgrounds will always give you different variations of the theme. So getting a mentor I think is really important. I
think that's crucial, because I think it's also something that's sort of gone a little bit quiet and backwards in terms of mentorship and so on and so forth. So it's really interesting that that's helped to really shape your career and could also help to shape other people's career as they come into the industry.
Yeah, never be scared to ask. If there's a problem or if there's a situation where you're not confident on something. I mean, like I said, arrogance of youth. A lot of people are going to turn around, or probably think, I don't need any help here, and I'm guilty as that, as through life. But I've realised now I can't do everything on my own, and you're going to have to, give out, work to others and obviously learn from others as well. And so, I think there's always somebody out there who's obviously got better skill than you, and don't be, afraid to tap into that.
Well, we can't do everything, can
exactly.
we? And I'm a big believer that there's no such thing as a stupid question. And the main reason I know that is because they ask them all the time. So, I think that it's really important that if you don't understand something, get to the crux of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is
and especially
crucial.
Joining new organisations, because they've got they're wedded to their ways.
Yes.
And so, what went before, even in the interview process where they say, we'd love to, get your kind of views and bring your experience from, previous, organisations, etc. When it comes down to that nitty gritty of the Monday to Friday, a lot of it, you have to fall into line of how they want it to be done. That doesn't always work. And again, history tells you that. But equally, I think, you have to, stand up and ask, these questions, as you said, whether they're stupid or not. I don't think they are. I think, there's, and so, you need to be confident, in asking these questions, because you can't do it all yourself.
Yeah, I like to call them dynamic questions, Paul.
That's a better way of putting it. Definitely. Yeah.
It sounds better.
I'm using that one now.
Okay, fantastic. So, quite an interesting question now. And I don't mean the Terminator films, but what role do you see artificial intelligence playing within the facilities management industry, if any at all? You may think that it doesn't have one. What's your view?
I think it's obviously going to I mean, it's creeping up throughout. I mean, it's with the Chat GPT. I think it is something that it's not. It would be silly to not embrace it. Where it takes us, I can't foresee. I can't. I can't really predict that.
Yeah.
I think it will have an influence on facilities management. How great that is, I think. It's hard to justify and hard to actually see at the minute. I mean, I think it's quite clouded. I think, but for us to say that be arrogant as an industry to not think it's going to have an effect on us, I think we'd be misjudged to do that.
I think that's a really interesting point, because I think everybody is making judgments and predictions about how AI is going to affect this industry and that industry, but we just don't see now because it's going to move so quickly that what it is now might be completely different to what it's going to be in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
So, I think with AI, you've got to keep your mind open.
I do agree
about the possibilities.
Yeah, and not be scared of it. I mean, everyone has a slight fear of change, but change is good.
Yep.
And I think, if we look back to 5 years ago and the differences in, the Internet of Things, how that's improved things within facilities management.
Yep.
5 years ago or circa that, we'd have been, scared of that kind of thing. But now we embrace that. So, I think it's hard for me to justify, as I said, where I think it'll lead us, because I don't think anyone really knows. And I think you're just literally putting your finger in the air and predicting something that you could have egg on your face.
I'd say we're in for a very interesting 5 years, though.
I agree, yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. Oh, fantastic. So, in your opinion, and across your experience and the roles that you've had, how do environmental, social and governance issues impact facilities management and the decisions that you make on a daily basis?
I think it's prevalent now in everything. I think you almost take a step back and look now and think, how is that going to affect ESG? I think our communications and our relationships with contractors are key now with ESG.
Yeah.
I think certainly the sustainability part of it is, with people endorsing having, electrical vehicles and so forth. Also making sure that the workers are paid correctly as well. So yeah, I think everything now. I mean, we're doing a major project in our one of our sites, our second site in Queen's Park, and we're putting PV panels on there.
Right.
We're doing a massive refurb of our original site in Kilburn.
Yeah.
Of replacing all the double glazing, or replacing 2 double glazing, I should say. So everything that we do now is down to sustainability, because we have to attract these students, and so we know through studies that students are sustainability is a massive part of what their thoughts are, and if it might be a difference between going to our campus, going to our university, instead of going to a competitor. And it might be even just based on sustainability or our environmental ethos.
Fantastic. And you mentioned supply partners previously, have you seen a good participation from supply partners in those areas, or do you think that supply partners in general could do better?
I think everyone can do better. The ones I've used previously at Knight Frank and brought across, since I know that they're keen to have their environmental credentials, as I said about electrical vehicles and obviously carbon footprint. I think a lot of the, it's early days, ICMP, but equally I know that the company, one of the companies will give me good sage advice on how to improve, our electrical output at that site as well. So, I think there's a lot of exciting things we can do to improve environmental.
That's what you need, though, isn't it? That kind of collaborative relationship. Definitely. Whereby you can have those conversations and you can help each other. Yeah, I mean,
I've seen it now, and it's building those relationships, and I kind of laugh at this now, but I mean, it was one procurement director who said to me that Paul, we can't just bring on partners who who've done good work for you in the past, and you built good relations. Just you can't bring on just them a drop of a hat. And my thoughts were, no, we can exactly do that because that's how contractors work. That's how you build up those relationships, and a good job, good jobs built up over time. That's the whole industry. That's how it all works, and I'm going to be using contractors that I've been using now for the last 5 years, ICMP, because I value their judgment, I value their honesty, I value their work ethic. So why wouldn't I use those people that I brought on? And that's one of the strangest comments I've ever heard a procurement director to use.
Yeah, well, I mean, trust is the key word, isn't it? You need to work with people you trust. And sometimes that can be hard to come by, to be fair. Okay, that's really interesting. So quite an interesting question now, Paul. How is the Internet of Things becoming increasingly important in facilities management?
Well, I mean, it connects everything. Obviously, that's a simple way of putting it. But I mean, for us, it basically, it opens up boundaries and opens up avenues that we'd never seen before. Yeah. I mean, the fact is now that you've got the communications and obviously the CCTV and how everything's linked to each other. It's a very exciting pathway. I haven't used it in so much in a great manner of respect, in the roles I've used, because residential, I mean, it didn't lend itself to that. Okay. But I mean, reading about the case studies that I've seen, I think it's something that, again, as I said, 5 years ago, we were probably slightly in awe and scared of it, but now it's something that we can embrace. Yeah. It's something that, I can see certainly in the commercial world being embraced more. And something that's going to, take obviously and develop alongside. I think we've got an opportunity now to develop it and make it bespoke to facilities management as well. Yeah. I think it's something that it's not something that we can just create as kind of template for. I think it's something that can be developed in across multifacets now for us. Yeah,
I think you could apply that rationale to AI. Actually, going back to our previous question, I think the difference is, AI is just going to move so much quicker than that did 5-10 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, Internet of Things could be the mini disc, whereas this is the iPod.
iPod. You're right. Yeah. Or the Walkman. And this is the iPod. Yeah. Does anybody remember Walkmans?
I'm sure I may.
I used to have one as well.
I had a mini disc, and that just never went anywhere. So.
I had one of them too, and a CD player, but it just kept jumping, which was a bit not very good, to be fair. Okay, so in your opinion. And, this is your opinion because that's important to people that are out there listening. What does the future landscape of facilities management look like?
I think, as we touched upon, ESG. Yeah. I mean, fire safety is obviously, with the unfortunate episode of, the events at Grenfell. Yes. So the Building Safety Bill, from a residential standpoint, is obviously in the golden thread. Putting the power back into the residents' hands, in so much that they have now full sight of what works are being carried out or have been carried out or not been carried out. Unfortunately,
I would say quite rightly so as well.
Definitely,
to be fair,
they're paying a premium to be, and they need to feel safe. Yeah. Speaking from experience, again, Knight Frank, they cut no corners. We were exemplary in that. And so, I think fire safety is obviously going to be key now, and rightly so. Unfortunately, it takes a horrendous event, tragic event such as Grenfell, for the industry to wake up. But they need to learn from that. But by the looks of it, by obviously implementing this law, then they have. But ESG will be, environmental, certainly. My son is 20 months old now. He'll be, living in 2100. Like I said, I want him to be living in a place that's, that isn't like some kind of horror film or some kind of dystopian film.
Agreed.
And so, we need to manage it now, and need to make sure that environmental around us is there for future generations.
Yeah, but crucial. Yeah, absolutely crucial point. And I think the uptake, I think, across the industry of ESG has, I think, been phenomenal, both from service partners and client side, and because I don't think they get a lot of kudos, but
No.
I think the industry as a whole, probably when you compare it to other industries, actually needs a bit of a pat on the back. I think that the industry has done quite well.
Yeah, well, I think
there's more to do, obviously,
of course, but I mean, as we all know in facilities management, it's if you're doing a good job, it's recognised, but you are only really pulled up on your mistakes, or if there's something goes wrong. No one's saying when you've set a room or done something, so the room was set lovely. It was it's only if it's something wrong with it. So but I agree. There's been a huge uptake in knowledge and embracing that knowledge for environmental, but there is still more to be done.
We can always get better,
exactly,
as they say. Brilliant, thank you. So what are some of the common challenges that you face on a daily basis at the minute in your present role in facilities management? What are the things that you think, how do I fix that?
I mean, still new to the role, so I'm in that honeymoon period, and I mean, it's. I wouldn't say there's any problems. I mean, what the surprising thing for me, or the welcoming thing for me, has been the positivity of the team and the facilities team itself. You're always a bit, I'd say, worried about moving to a new role and seeing if what kind of atmosphere is going to be there, or kind of standard of the team, and it's been refreshing to see wall to wall praise for that team, and that I've got to give kudos to my predecessor, because obviously he left it in a really good place for me to inherit. I think if there's a challenge for me, it's a positive challenge in so much I'd like to bring that team on and bring them, as I discussed previously, the enthusiasm's there, but to get them up to date on their training. The majority of the people who work there are ex-students. So again, they haven't, facilities management or facilities is a new kind of environment for them.
New concept.
Concept, yeah.
To be fair, none of us really knew it existed until we started working in it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, go back a few years, and when I was still going to weddings or being invited to weddings, given my age, and they were... everyone would start asking me about, what I did, and you'd start talking about health and safety, and people's eyes would just glaze over. And so, they'd be probably looking, thinking, I really hope I'm not sat next to her at a wedding on the table. So, and then, you could see their disappointment when I would sit next to them, because they thought they'd be bored to tears about, health and safety for the rest of the day. But I would hope that I had better things to say than that. So, going back to the team at, ICMP, there's that enthusiasm there, and you can't. You want to bottle that, you want to keep that and keep that enthusiasm there. So, giving them the opportunity to learn, about health and safety, IOSH, and, moving them on hopefully to NEBOSH as well, on that kind of pathway, and, join the IWFM and so forth. That then will raise the standards at ICMP, and just, gives people gives them that opportunity and want, that kind of, willpower to come to work and give their best.
Well, it elevates them as well. It elevates them. It gives them, the skill set that they could perhaps have if they want to continue to pursue a career, not just in facilities management, but other things as well. So, the fact that you're championing development is, I think, really important.
No, I agree. No, it's something as well. I mean, none of us as well should, think to ourselves, we want them to be the best they can. And if that's with ICMP or to move on eventually, because they might outgrow the role, and if they do, that's great, because it means that, me and the other managers and the team supervisors there have done, and developed that person. And we want future leaders to be developed. That's one of the pleasures of being a manager is, seeing, the people that you work on and, and manage, to develop as well.
Yeah. And it's exactly the reason this podcast was created, because we want to give people the insights in the industry so that they become future leaders and move the industry forward.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. So another interesting question here. How do you stay informed about the new developments within the industry? What's going on? What's happening? And so on and so forth. How do you keep your ear to the ground, Paul?
So, I mean, I'm a member of IWFM, or certified with IWFM. So I get their, quarterly magazine. There's various symposiums and webinars that I'll join as well. Obviously on LinkedIn. So there's a wealth of information on there. it's just it's just the general interest. I mean, for me, it was certainly when I was in residential, keeping up to date with the housing crisis and so much and obviously the all the issues with all the panels and the insulation and the issues there. That for me was, I needed to be on key and understand all of that, because we were part of that as well. There was buildings there that we were managing that needed to be managed safely, and some had wake and watch as well. So to have that insight there was key, to keep abreast of the situation, and obviously inform people who needed to be know as well, like my line managers. There's that. I mean, it's just literally also meeting, and kind of networking with other people, and meeting like-minded people.
Just to dovetail, but it's quite a big industry now, that waking watch, isn't it, across the UK? To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, in so much that they're not trained personally into the manner that I would expect them to be. So
considering what they're doing, the importance of the role.
I mean, the waking watch, and some of them are asleep. I've caught them. So it's like, I mean, for me, it's an industry that's kind of developed, which it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because it's one that you are the lease the residents are charged an extortionate amount of money for it, and I don't think they get full value for it. So that's something I think needs to be looked at, personally, in my opinion.
But that's an important call out as well, because if we don't talk about these things, then they don't get remedied and rectified. So that's quite an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the bit of a Mystic Meg question here now, Paul.
Okay, right.
So what do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges in facilities management over the next 5 years?
Okay. I think one of the opportunities is to recognise facilities management more. I think it's, as you said, that we have made great strides and are more recognised and as an industry. But I do think it's something that it's a new industry. As I said, it was hard whenever you said facilities management 5 years ago, people just wouldn't really understand the concept of it.
They had no idea what it was. No. I say to people now, Paul, they still don't know.
Well, no, exactly. Yeah, it is one of those, that we are having to do a bit of tub thumping.
Do what?
Exactly. Yeah, and so and then it's almost that you try and either justify it.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Either justify it or just or downplay it. And I think for us, it's we should be shouting from the rooftops. Really, what we do. It's it is the health and safety of people. It's the betterment of either the commercial or the offices that people are in, the residential places that parts that they live in. I mean, and now these residential properties are almost becoming commercial properties themselves. With you've got pools and gyms,
mixed use developments and the retail shopping.
There's such a merging there. So I think it's an industry that we should be. There's an opportunity there for us to promote ourselves within. Obviously, the aforementioned environmental. I think and adding value to the P&L of companies. I think it's something that we can certainly, as well as we move into different areas, help with projects, help with the development of projects. I mean, it was frustrating in some respects that when we would take on new projects at Knight Frank, that we were left towards the end of saying, have you got any input on this? And we added value of saying, if you do this isn't going to work, and if you do that, where's the concierge going to sit, or where's the building manager going to sit? Oh, we haven't done them an office. Well, that kind of that element of it. So unless we're there at the kind of almost design process. Now, I'm not saying I'm an architect, far from it. But I have that value that I can add to that architect's design. And so I think having us at the forefront as well would be a massive boon as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? If they don't have somebody at that stage, suddenly it's gone live, and they've got to find an extra X amount, thousands of pounds to build whatever needs to be built for those facilities. So,
storage space. I mean, it's the bane of our lives.
Really?
We want more storage space, but no one ever considers it.
Right. Okay. So maybe in the next 5 years, we can fix that. We'll fix a lot of things.
Yeah, just give me more storage space.
Yeah, more storage, but more cupboards. Fair enough. Thanks, Paul. So what are what are some of the greatest achievements within your facilities management career?
I would say, I mean, I have a real passion for developing people. Right. So for me, I mean, certainly at Knight Frank, there was a number of people there that we developed. I wouldn't just say it's all on my shoulders. I mean, I'm not that arrogant, I mean, it's something that I have a real passion for, in so much that seeing how people change over time, given and it's about that enthusiasm. I mean, as I said, I mean, you could give the people the tools, but if they're not wanting to use them, then it's just going to fall by the wayside. And
it's pointless, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And the beauty of it is that there's two in my mind that really stand out, and one came very, very inexperienced. I think they'd be the first to admit that. But by just giving them a kind of steer, giving them giving them that training, but also that freedom to make those mistakes and not judge them. I feel that person that they really developed. The second one was based as a concierge, but you could instantly see that they had passion. They really wanted to better themselves, and again, that giving them, moving them out of the concierge role at the front of house, but giving them then a portfolio of sites to manage and take their great customer service, but also their kind of methodical nature of it, and turn that across a number of sites. That seeing them develop that framework. I mean, and part of that as well was that there was no training matrix or framework of training for any of the concierges at Knight Frank, or certainly in the portfolio that I was managing when I first took over. So ripped it up and started again, and basically made sure that by the end of the tenure, when I moved into the head of residential role, that portfolio, everyone was equal. So everyone had done IOSH, everyone had done water maintenance training, fire risk awareness training, and so forth, and all those modules have been completed. And just seeing that breadth of health and safety experience rise was just it was great to see. And I felt a real achievement from that, and seeing people better themselves and that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that kind of leadership makes a real difference for people, because it gives them additional core skills. It helps their careers. It moves them forward. So I'm sure that those individuals would remember that for the remainder of their career.
I hope so.
As a positive thing that took place.
And they're all, as far as I'm aware, a majority of them are still working, in their current roles. But I think it gives them, like you said, it gives them that self ownership, self-worth, that they're feeling valued by the company, valued by their manager. It's not just there for them to turn up and just do the bare minimum. It's them pushing themselves, and I say we, I'm not there anymore, but obviously Knight Frank, they were great. If you had a course that I hadn't heard of, or saying, I want to do this course, within the realms of possibility, we always made sure that they did it, because if it's the betterment for them and the betterment for the residents and betterment for the company, do it.
Made sense. Yeah, everybody benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. So conversely, any regrets? Are there any regrets in the same sort of scenario?
It's hard. I mean, obviously everyone's had regrets. I mean, but it's got me to this point now. So for me, it's one that I could list as many list a lot of regrets I've had over the term now. But would I be in the same position that I'm in now? In my job that I'm currently loving and sure will continue to love? Possibly not. It's that sliding door moment. And so for me, it's whatever's happened in my career, whatever decisions I've made, good or bad, they've got me to this point now, and I'm comfortable in that. I'm comfortable, where I am now. I'm really, really happy that I'm back in education. Really, really happy that I'm in a topic or a kind of genre, if you want to call it that, of music that I'm passionate about. Regret-wise, there's nothing that I want to dwell on. So it's because it's got me into this position now.
Well, I'm a big believer that challenge makes us push forward. So, I think whatever we experience, be it work life, work personal, whatever, it moves us down a certain path.
Yeah.
And we grow from it.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
Okay, moving away from facilities management.
Okay.
We want to know a little bit about you now, Paul.
Okay.
So what things in life, work or leisure, give you the greatest satisfaction and enjoyment?
I suppose I better start with my son and my wife and my dog, else I would get
You'll
into
get
trouble.
wrong if you don't want to.
I would get into trouble. So all the family is hugely important to me.
Yep.
As I said, son is now 20 months old. It's aged me about 10 years in those 20 months. But
I feel your pain, Paul. I've got one at home same age, so I feel your pain.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So but what a wonderful experience it's been. And it's something that I never probably foresaw myself, becoming a father. But it's something that I feel blessed that I'm in that position now.
Fantastic.
So that's obviously key. I love obviously music, as I'm probably seen a theme develop through this.
Yes,
podcast,
very much so.
Yeah. Film obviously as well, and literature and current affairs, and my running and my cycling. So keeping fit. So
I've got outdoor activities.
Yeah, I mean walking the dog is a challenge in itself. Walking the son is a challenge in itself. So it's never done in the Wilson household.
Yeah, going back to music, I feel like you're the guy that I need to ask about what bands to go see live, because you sound like the type of guy that probably knows.
I do go to a lot of gigs. I do get my knuckles wrapped by my wife about the amount of gigs I go to, but it's something that it's an outlet for me. It's something that does no one else any harm. So it's I try to go to as many gigs as I can, or a festival. And I think it's something I've done from an early age. It's something I want my son to do. We've already talked about going to a festival probably next year, and he's
really starting him real early then.
Really early, yeah. So
what festival?
It'd be either Green Man or End of the Road.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Not huge ones yet. I don't think.
No, not the big ones. Stay away from Glastonbury. If I see him there with a flag.
Yeah, I mean, in many years' time he might go, but I don't think he's ready for that yet.
Oh, that is fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Well, look, that's the end of our 18th podcast. We hope that you, the listeners, have found it very interesting. I'd really like to thank Paul for taking the chair. It's been such a thought-provoking, engaging and interesting chat, Paul. We welcome your support and feedback from our listeners. Tune in next time.
Thank you.